Hello. Hello everyone joining the live. Hope you are welcome here. Hope you all had a good Iq Trecena. And today we're going to be analyzing the Iq Trecena. I don't know, like in the northern hemisphere, because most of you are from the northern hemisphere. Here in Brazil, in the southern hemisphere, it's extremely hot. It was supposed to be winter, and today we had like over 31 degrees in here. It's crazy hot. Feels like as the flames of Thor is just has been incinerating this south hemisphere in here. So everyone, I think I'm gonna be starting the. Let me see if the connection has reestablished. Hello, Ricardo, my friend. Which number nawals have a relationship? What do you mean? In what way? What kind of relationship you mean? That's good. Yeah, it's a ceremonial fire. It's a great Trecena for us to make our payments for the road we want to walk, to commit to our plans. That's beautiful. And if you can explain me like what kind of relationship you are referring. Like, do you mean whenever like they go, for example, they have like more sense of harmony with if the nominal nawals? Was that there you refer? So you want to. I'm still not sure if I got the what you mentioned. Like for example, like the relationship, for example, Tz'i, or like if they have. Well, what you can establish from here, because the numeral nawals, the numbers, they always gonna gives us something that is constant, like the water. That's why we, whenever like in my lineage to explain, we always refer there as like something constant, like we give metaphors for the water. Like the nominal nawals, you always explain through the metaphors of the fire because it's dynamic. So the relationship that we have, like, is this like a one constant with the numbers and one dynamic with the nawals. Just like personality can be dynamic, can fluctuate, just like the fire. So it has many different expressions. So the relationship between the numeral nawals and the nominal nawals always goes like this, like as the number gives like the room, like that the fire can fluctuate over there. So that's kind of the type of the relationship that we can have. I have like that is really good that you asked that, because I always forget to mention I have a playlist here in my YouTube channel they call Fundamentals. In there I explain, for example, with my lineage, how we observe that, like these associations with the water and the fire. And also every time whenever I mention about like the gender, like whenever talking about the classification of an owl, for example, Achahil, which is masculine, like whenever we talk about a masculine, something that comes from the sky, that is has light, is out dispersing. So we always refer as the masculine, for example, the masculine owls. But we also have the Iq, which is the feminine. So in these videos, I go one by one explaining like these classifications between the nouns. So it makes it easier for us to see like the interaction they could have like with the numbers. Like what numbers could be also feminine, what numbers could be also masculine. But they also have like some extra classifications. For example, masculine passive, feminine aggressive. So I have a video in a playlist. So everyone who is watching the live would like to or just start following my Trecena analysis. There is a couple of videos. Was the I only uploaded 2 videos, but I explain a little bit this flow of the Trecena and these interactions between the numeral nawals and the nominal nawals. Right on? And so let's start with today's analysis of the Oshillahu Iq Trecena. I hope you all had a good Oshillahu Trecena, which was just recapitulating a little bit. This was a Trecena of the big fire that would be like the offerings that we do for the commitments we made. Remember in the past Trecena analysis, I mentioned that all could be about the plan that we are building, like how the ideas we are having for the things we want to conquer for this next 260-day cycle. So it's about to start a plan to see the things we'd like to commit, like just feeding the fire so he could be ascending. So the flames of the fire could clarify even better how these ideas would connect to each other, how they can formulate the plan. And also to see like what is the price behind, of these commitments that we are trying this time. The more we follow the Maya calendar, so we are putting this stuff into tasks to make sure like we are able to commit to these things, to ponder later on, just like in the 2 Trecenas ago, before the time restarted. So we have a day to ponder to see if it's really worth it to still commit to a certain plan, to a certain idea, a certain sacrifice, because sometimes the price can be too high. And so the Oshillahu Trecena was this Trecena, so that we would build a plan that we would like to commit, to clarify like what is the plan that we really intend to sacrifice our energy, like our sweat, blood and tears. So it was all about the payment for the road. So Thor, we always mention the association with the ascending fire. Of course, some of you that sometimes ask me about the connection with Thor, with the water, like which was the old association. Even so, like whenever we are talking about the water, we talk about like the tropical rains, like that will never fall, like in Hita's skin, it feels like burning. So is it still the same connotation, less whenever we apply to fire, especially like when we understand like the Quiche main words to describe that. For example, we always mention to Thor being like a tohonik, like tohonik being like that attribute, like an offering that we do, or like whenever we pay to ascend, like takanik, or whenever talk about like the ruler, like the ruling stuff of now Thor, whenever talk about conquering something, like we'll talk about the government as well as is the now of the rulers. So animalar kamalbe what is awaharen, that talks about the government. And for example, the distribute the tohonik, the act to pay to something, or torobal, the ceremonies of payment. Torobal pari nube hok, whenever you pay one for the road of your life, or the commitments that we are doing right now for ascending. So depending on how the past Trecena went, like everything that we gather from these experiences like maybe the obsessions that we enter to, trying to figure out the plan, maybe seeing maybe like the price of these sacrifices that can cause us. So now we deposit all of these experiences in this Trecena that is just emerging right now, which is the Oshlahu Iq 13 wind. This Trecena of the 13 wind is gonna be a very emotional one, because this is gonna be the Trecena of Iq is the breath of life, like the insufflation of life that fills us with life, with air, the air of enthusiasm, like the courage. And just like a kid that is likes to see these romantic sides of life that inspires us, to push things forward. It's the power of these like, explosive emotions. Just like the wind can be very explosive, and sometimes it doesn't have like a single direction to follow. You can go here and there, just like a kid just playing around, just running everywhere without a single direction. So that's kind of the image that we can see here in this Trecena of Oshlahu Iq. And every time we talk about now, we can talk about enthusiasm, courage. So these are type of emotions that can drive us forward, that can inspire us. Just feel like as whenever we feel like the wind just pushes us forward into the direction we are going, like we can like speed up the process. But at the same time, like the same nature of the now Iq, these emotions, depending on the condition we are acting, like depending like if we are not like very well control about the things where we are going, they can be going everywhere or even explode through temper tantrums. It's a very explosive nawal. Just like emotions can explode out of a sudden, they are very volatile. I don't know if that's the word in English. Like they are very uh, they can explode everywhere. It's kind of hard to control. It's kind of hard to grasp onto that. Like you can go from 0 to 150 like in a split second. Just like the wind can change direction and just blow everything away. So it can be, this Trecena can be like this explosion, like this big enthusiasm that can rise up the fire that we feed in the past Trecena. For example, if we all had all the most like auspicious way, like with the past Trecena, we make sure like to set our commitments. Like, oh, thank you so much, Chandra. And so this right now, for example, now we can just rise up. We can give like just put our plans to fly higher. Like we can be enthusiastic about it. Like this is the field that we're gonna be just sacrificing ourselves hard. We need to be commitment. Like we need to have like this emotional connection with the stuff that we are doing. Like we are the spiritual parents of our projects. So that's why everything that we chose to commit in the past Trecena, like right now we can take a flight. But if in the past Trecena we ended up like not having like a clue about what we are doing, like we ended up just kind of in the dark, or just ended up just kind of feeling heavy, like with our commitments. So this Trecena, maybe we can start a little bit confused, and this can ended up just making the wind just going everywhere, just looking desperately for something to connect, to relate. And this can be a little bit dangerous. We start this Trecena with Tz'i, one dog. Everyone, guys, if you would like to follow the graphics that I use to see the Trecena, you can go to mayadekeeper.me. There you can see my calculator. If you just search the day of tomorrow, you can see the graphic with the snake. So if you'd like to follow the graphics, I wish there was like a way that I could do this simultaneously in the live. Maybe that is. I will search for, because I think it will make it easy for everyone to follow. So coming back, we start this Trecena with Tz'i, one dog. One is the spring, is the new spring of things, like is the water looking for a path to follow. And Tz'i is a noun of emotions. So Tz'i is the spring of emotions. Everything that you have to deal in the past Trecena, just trying to be logical, just trying to make sure we know where to go and to see like what is the next step to see like to our commitments, to see our plan more clearly. So sometimes can take like be heavy with our emotions. Sometimes like we overthink too much. We become we get like a lot of anxiety or trying to figure out like the heavy things that sometimes we have to pay to achieve stuff, to conquer the stuff we commit. And now everything was deposited in this spring of emotions. So now we're gonna be like the other side of the coin that we saw in the Oshlahutor, the 13th fire Trecena. So here is going to be the spring of emotions. These emotions can grow and become like a hurricane. Like it can be this explosion of enthusiasm that this Trecena can talk about. These emotions can be this stuff like that can put like takes us to cloud nine, to fly very high, and can strengthen our bonds that we share with each other, like our friendship, our family. And also this enthusiasm can help us to give birth to new things, or have more deals, as talks about the connection, just like the wind connects us all, through your breath. And despite of anything that we believe besides other stuff, the wind is the one that connects us all. It just makes us alive right now. So these emotions that ignite in Tz'i can be the stuff that's going to be igniting this explosion at the end, that the wind's already pushing forward. So it's going to be this start of this emotional gust that the Trecena can provide. So as I mentioned, depending on how we deal with stuff, how the baton was passed to Tz'i, now can be this spring of emotions where like something like was very bad, maybe you can find a little bit of enthusiasm by connecting with the people we care about, like our loyal ones, like our friends. Could be a time for us to draw some energy, from their emotional bonds that we share with them. So despite of anything that could happen there, right now we can restart over again. We can maybe find new ways to get excited, explore new emotions that maybe we forgot that were over there, like these new sides of life that can make us feel inspired, because everything is going to be also related on how we deal with emotions. Otherwise, these emotions, if I mention, as I said, if we start with the confusion, because this side of Tz'i, these emotions can corrupt us. They can express the chaos side of now Tz'i, or just like when as Tz'i has this association with the authority device, which is like the judge that you can bribe to get your stuff. Just like whenever you try to, when the dog bites the owner and feels confused afterwards. So we need to avoid, entering into this emotional turmoil in this Trecena, because that can become a very hurricane and makes us feel explosive, arguing with people, like without control. So that's going to be setting the tone for this Trecena. And so it can be a tremendous auspicious Trecena where we can fall in love with things, like we can get very enthusiastic about stuff, but we need to know like at what heights can we fly safely. Otherwise, you can end up blinded by these emotions and not knowing what to do, or just keep making mistakes without noticing. So from Tz'i, we move to Cape Bats. Now too is the moment of the retraction after the water from the spring that looks for a path, maybe doesn't have a lot of strength, needs to retract. So it's a time where time takes one step back to make new calculations, to calculate the route we're going to be following in this Trecena. Now Bat is the now of the thread, is the now of time. So it's the now also of connecting the dots, or just seeing like the interconnection of ideas, putting things into action. It's also connected to the howler monkey by the way they swing between the trees, like remembers the Maya interweaving. So we talk about like the way we use our creativity, the way we interconnect stuff to create something. So that's something that Nawal talks about, the way we resolve problems. We use our creativity, to solve stuff, to untangle like the knots that sometimes we enter into life, like our interaction, like the threads of our interaction sometimes can get entangled. So bats is the now to untangle these knots. So bats is the moment to put back the time to fix what happened in the past Trecena. So in the past Trecena, we got lost from the plans, from our initial ideas. Maybe we enter into obsession, or we couldn't clarify what's the plan to follow, what is the price to pay. Kibats is the moment to take one step back, to untangle those ideas, to resolve what happened there before we move forward. It's the time if we started in Tz'i with the chaos, like with this emotional turmoil. Now is the time to put things back into order. If Tz'i is the last now in the Qiqi counting, Bats is the first one, is the order after the chaos. Is when nature puts back things into order. So it's gonna be the time to make our calculations where we want to project. So like you can picture two bats as we have like a bow and arrow. So you pull the thread of the bow to weigh where you want to shoot. So just be careful, just know how to calculate the wind to see where it's blowing, so you make like a very calculated shot, so you don't hit anyone's ass in a way for not knowing how to project that. So it's the moment to put things back into order, or to be inspired, as is the Trecena of the emotions. How can you use these emotions to create beautiful stuff? To calculate the stuff you want to come out, to give birth in this Trecena, in a way of speaking. But we need to avoid, just trying to leave things unresolved, after Kebats. Like try to resolve yourself emotionally, so you don't get more entangled or don't end up getting frustrated with the emotions that you weren't able to control in this Trecena. And then from Kebats we go to Oshib E3 Pathfinder. Now 3 is the order that goes forward, just opening the path. It has already enough strength after the calculation, and now can find its way through the obstacles, trying to surpass what is in front, or trying to block. Just like the waterfall, like the water, the cascades in the waterfall, just find its way through the rocks, or just like a delta of a river that enters into many divergences. So now 3 goes forward no matter what, even if it needs to diverge. Sometimes you find a blockage, and now 3 you find its way through that. Most of the time in a light way, like without, but 10% of the bit sometimes now 3 can be, that's that punch, that tries to destroy, to surpass the obstacle. And now E is the now of the path of life. It can be the spiritual path, can be the physical road, can be the intellectual stuff that we read, or just like whenever we embark in a journey of a movie, or the moments whenever we are just daydreaming, like we are in this or inner world, just figuring out like what we're gonna do, like how we want to inspire ourselves, like how we would like to see things connected. So that's the realm of the now E. Whenever we are looking for a meaning for something, just putting meaning into our life, or just giving something a purpose. So Oshib E is going to be opening the path, like opening the path to find like what is our purpose. Like if the purpose is like of the plan that we created in the past Trecena, like that we chose to commit, we paid for this road. So now we need to see if it's in line with our purposes in life, the meaning that we are looking for, like for that, be all these sacrifices, how we feel emotionally connected to that. So as the wind can be has this romanticized view of life, so opening the path, like daydreaming, maybe you can find like the inspiration that we need, like to open the path to stuff, to get excited. But as the wind has like multiple ways to go, 3A has the possibility to diverge our path. Just like maybe if we daydream too much, maybe we can just ended up getting lost or not knowing where to go or where to open the path with the multiple possibilities that can open. Just like when the wind gets lost, you don't know where to go. So the more like we are aligned with our purposes in here, like we know where we need to advance, like if we need to go back, just like in the previous day, to resolve stuff in bats, maybe now we are more centered to know where we need to follow this flow. And avoid just as, for example, if Tz'i started with the confusion or sadness or insecurity, then Q can be something that starts just like opening a path with melancholy, or just not able to overcome to surpass the obstacle because of the melancholies or because of the lack of direction, the lack of purpose. So that can drive the wind and this Trecena crazy. So the more we know where we're going, the more we align with our purposes, that can feed that makes us our daydreams, inspire us, the better for the outcome of this Trecena. And then from Oshib E, we move to Kahib Ah for transformation. Now 4 is after the water that opens the path, is the one that stops temporarily. Maybe to get more strength, or maybe because we just got stagnant, or it's just slowly getting more volume. It can be something that's just stationary over there, just like the water in the well that waits for the water from the rain to level up. And now we talk about the now of changes and transformation. Of course, whenever we talk about the context of transformation in Quiche, whenever we're going to explain now it's not like that optimistic, realm of transformation when you're already transmuted, like you're already transformed, but talks about what puts you into transformation. It's a sense of incompleteness that makes you have to adapt to new circumstances, adapt to change. So getting out of your comfort zone to move around. So Kahib Ah is gonna be about just giving a foundation to adapt to these changes that the wind can bring. Like this emotion sometimes, just can take us away from our path if we diverge too much. Maybe like we can be stagnant with bitterness of having to do something that we don't want to, but we kind of have to. Sometimes life sometimes puts us into some circumstances that we need to face that. I remember mentioning that in the previous live of the Oshilahu Trecena, because it's always good to leave some room for the unexpected to come. Like just giving some room, like a room for being able to deal with the unexpected, to make sure we don't ruin the plan. So it was better to keep things simple. Because sometimes we ended up being stagnant with so many changes that requires us, that comes as a surprise, that you had to lead with that and say, oh, how can I just keep committed to this stuff, because I have to deal with many different things that I didn't expect having to deal. So it kind of puts you into that sensation that, oh my God, I need to do this. So the more we leave room, the better we are able to handle these changes as they come. So Kahib Ah is gonna be this moment to give this, to structure like ourselves, to know where we need to go to adapt to these changes the wind is providing, to see like what can we do. But if we came from the melancholy of now passing the baton from now can makes us feel stagnant with bitterness, stagnant with a more like with cynicism, or just being like with having this like bitter like vision of life, like or to because we are feeling uncomfortable. So that's what we need to avoid, because this mood can affect how the winds is driving things forward. So the more we are able to stabilize, to know the stuff that we're doing, the more we're able to find the purposes, it makes it easier to deal with these changes. So it's going to be the moment to pause, to establish, what do you need to do. Just like we need to have like a very stable home, Like in Quiche means home, but every time we talk about now we talk about halbal, that means transformation, putting things to transform. But in this case, we can also apply the metaphor of the home, that you need to have a solid foundations for not letting the wind to blow your home away. So that's like we need to find this home, like this foundation of home inside of us to be able to go through this moody wind. And then from Kahib for transformation, we jump to Hob Ish Valam 5 Jaguar. Hob days is the days, I always say, like the things can go sideways, because this is the water that overflows after the stagnancy, after the water that is slowly getting strength. This is the moment where the water overflows, the water that you cannot contain, like it's too much strength for you to contain. If you're going to the most auspicious way, it can be the day where I can give like 150%. Choose that day, just to give more than you can take, for so you can collect more things later on in the Trecena, or maybe you can speed up the process. Otherwise, you can destroy things, like can be like a completely avalanche of destruction, or just like a huge tsunami that can destroy things. And now Ishvalam is the now of the female jaguar, the now that we associated with the planet Earth, talking about the female aspects of nature. We never talk about darkness. Remember in the beginning of the live with Ricardo's question, talking about the nature, this interaction between the feminine and the masculine aspects that the Maya calendar talks about. Ishvalam talks about these female aspects that you need, like for transform something, to develop your ideas. Just like the jaguar that roams the territory and never sees a prey, it never goes straight forward. It goes like this from the side, for give like that instant bite to kill. And so that's about the jaguar exploring like the possibilities. Just like a jaguar is a very curious animal, likes to stay from the high and observing what is the prey. And it talks about like it's the aggressive side of the earth, like the earth, like that gives us life, that gives us everything, but it also takes away. So it's an aggressive fertility of the land. So it's now that talks about developing stuff, the material stuff. So Hob Ish Falam is gonna be the day to overflow the developments that we need to do. Overflow, just run wild, like with our explorations, to see like what kind of deals we can get, as this is the Trecena of the enthusiasm. So we can use this enthusiasm or emotions to explore new ways to collect resources. As now Ishvalan talks about, whenever we do a savings, like whenever we collect resources to use later on, or to build material stuff. So this is the connection that we can see here with now Hob Ishvalam. So in the most auspicious way, if the transformation went well, if our emotions are way, we got like a place where to go, like a path to follow, then Ishvalam can roam like more freely to develop this stuff. Otherwise, if we just came through the stagnation with bitterness, with now like just feeling incomplete, how Ishvalam can be something like that is like we can experience just like a drought, like a very huge drought in there, whenever the land loses fertility, entering into barrenness. So we lose the potential, or we are just angry, destroying everything, using this aggressiveness to destroy everything that we built. So this is the most aggressive day, or the most aggressive phase of the Oshlahu Iq Trecena, because it's the moment where the jaguar is gonna be really wild. Just like as the connection with the planet and the wind is in the atmosphere over there, so it's how we experience this aggressive side of Earth, like the angry mother over there. So that can be causing like that can add to the possible explosion that we can find here in this Oshlahu Iq Trecena. And then from Hob Ishvalam, we move to Waqib Tikin, 6, ego. Now 6 is the heart of the Trecena, the moment to put things into perspective. Just like entering to a cave to listen to a heart, to know what to do. Not the best moment to take decisions, but it's the moment to put everything in the scale, to weigh stuff before we make a decision. And now Tikin, we talk about the male ego, just like the eagle that is flying high in the sky when it sees something goes straight forward. So if Ishvalam talks about the female aspects of nature, now Tikin talks about the masculine aspects of the nature. If Ishvalam is the earth, Tikin is the sky. As you probably may heard, like the connection of the heart of the sky and heart of the earth. This is the combination of Ishvalam and Tikin for the aspects of transformation. So Tikin is going to be the one that goes straight forward. It's going to be doing the investments of the resources that Ishvalam collected. So the metaphor is the ego goes straight forward, just like representing the midday sun or the rains that fall straight forward from the sky to the earth. So that's the connection with Tikin. So Waqib Tikin is going to be the heart of the sky. It's going to be for us to pondering the heights that we can fly with this wind, just like as the eagle can fly over there. So we need to make sure how high can we fly with these emotions of this Trecena. So we need to ponder, for example, as the eagle talks about this midday sun, it's the sun that burns says the strongest heat of the sun. So it can make us blind whenever we look at it. It can really damage our eyes. So it's the moment to put things into perspective of how high we can allow these emotions to take a flight. So to avoid ended up just going straight forward into the wall, just smashing the stuff that we are doing. Because you know the sensation when you look at the sun and you look at something else, you see like some burn like in your eyes for a moment. So it can represent that, something that you cannot see right away. So this is the moment where you can put things into perspective to make sure you can go straight forward, make sure like something's not going to be disturbing you over there. So this is the moment to see how high can we fly with this wind. And then from Waqib Tikin, we go to Uqub Ahmak, 7, complementarity. Now 7 is the hot water, the most intense part of the Trecena, just like or can represent also the canyon, like whenever you're in the top of the canyon, seeing all the possibilities where you can go. So this is the moment maybe you can already have a glimpse of what can accumulate until the end of the Trecena, like a link what's going to be the repercussion at the end of this Trecena, where it's the wind is blowing, so we make a more conscious decision of what is the best route that we can follow. And now Ahmak is the one that combines the complementary opposites. It's going to be taking the female aspects of Ishvalam and the masculine aspects of Tikin and blend them together in order to get something out of it. So it's the procreation, like it's the birth. So it's the now of the newborns, the continuation of generations, and also the now of the family. So here we can see that this big enthusiasm, this big wind of enthusiasm that can strengthen our emotional connections, can be something that we can meet maybe already here in Uqub Ahmak. Could be already the point where depending on how we are carrying this Trecena, how we are dealing with emotions, depending on what we calculated there or pondering in Tikin, that's going to be expressed in Ahmak. It's going to be the final repercussion. It can mean can talk about like the deals, like how we shake hands, to get a deal in business, or how we interact with each other, like the matchings that we have in your life. Could be romantic, but can also be dependent, as I mentioned, the Tikin that can look at the midday sun like right into the light can be a little bit blind and can lead us to make mistakes because you are too enthusiastic about it. Ahmak talks about this blindness that emotions can bring. So in this Trecena that we are talking about specifically about this power of emotions, how they can explode. So here we can already see like how hot these emotions can be. So we need to avoid getting blinded by them. So it's the moment to try to keep our feet on the floor to make a decision of where we need to go, like what kind of deals we can make to make sure like we are not just seeing something that is not real. Could be also the moment if we see to unmatch stuff that is not working. If we started the Trecena confused with the emotions, maybe it could be the time that maybe we already put our feet on the floor. So yeah, maybe it's better not flying too much. So if we created a solid foundation with Kahib so maybe now we can see better the stuff that we are getting involved. And then from Ukubah Mak 7 complementarity, we go to Washakib Naor. This is the moment where the Trecena restarts. Washakib, the nawal number 8, is the beginning of the Trecena. Just like as nature follows patterns, that's the representation of nawal number 8 that goes in circle and gives a repetition so we can memorize the stuff. So that's why it's the second beginning. It's just like doing things for the second time when you are able to recognize patterns. And then next to now Washakib, we got now Naor or now Noh that talks about the thoughts, the thinker, the knowledge. So it's the moment to go back to the plans, the ideas we first started in the beginning of the Oshlahutoh Trecena. So it's going to be time to revisit those ideas, revisit the plan in order to make sure we are following them, make sure like we are still aligned with this stuff. Also, in order to ground, our emotions into that. And now 8 and now Naor, they are cognates, like they are cousins in meanings, just like the now Naor, they follows the process of the mind, the analysis, synthesis, like planifications. So that's something that can be related to now Washakib, because now Naor likes to follow the patterns. But now Naor tends to enter into obsessions, different than now number 8. That's just returns, but doesn't necessarily enters into obsession. So this can be like the return of the plans, the return of ideas that we had to see like how like our emotions following this plan, like that we committed in the past Trecena. So this is going to be the moment to remember the plan, to remember the ideas. Maybe now that 20 days later after Hun Naor, maybe now we can see better what we really commit, like to make sure like how we are dealing with the emotions that this commitment brings us. So it's going to be like the plan return is stronger, like it's more prepared. So you already know like what kind of emotions they're going to take from you, or maybe already have a glimpse. So it's going to be like the coming back of the ideas, but in a stronger way. It's more prepared after you tried so many stuff. But could be also the return of the obsession, like just like the emotions leads us into obsession. Maybe if you got blinded in a hammock right now, maybe you don't know where to go, you're just enthusiastic, or you want to think about it straight. So this can be the return of the obsession. So that's something that we need to avoid. So if we start interested in the confusion, and try to solve, remembering that the plan is going to return, try to not just like overthink too much, try to keep things light, try to set the direction you need to go, try to set like what is the purpose, how you can use the wind in your favor to avoid getting stuck with this returning of Naor. And then from Washakib Naor, we go to Belaer Tihash, 9 cut, 9 obsidian, 9 healing. Now 9 is the now of the waters that runs like behind, like underneath our sight, just like the underground rivers or the wet caves that have water in there where lives can come. It's just like a gestation. And now Tihash is the now that we talk about the cut and incision. So T is to bite and hash is to separate. So Tihash is to cut and separate. We talk about the incision whenever, like we are doing an act of healing, whenever we use the scalpel to open up for surgery. And so we talk about the practice of healing, but also express the communication, the uses of our words, like the words that heal and words that hurt. So Bela Tihash can be like the gestation of the words. Now Yik is the one that carries our words, to communicate with each other. We need to be aware of how we express ourselves, how we communicate. So we need to gestate very well, like how we're going to communicate our ideas that can strengthen or destroy our emotional balance. So as this is a very emotional Trecena, very volatile, and so we need to be very careful in how we're going to be using our words to navigate this Trecena. It can be a day also to cut, the obsession that nawal we have brought, or also to use that to cut, the losing threads that Kebat left in the beginning of the Trecena. So we can deal with that. Maybe you can find this inner healing that we need. It could be a day for self-care, to make sure like we just settle with the emotions. We are not entering into this turmoil. So we don't spend too much with this gust of wind that we are receiving in this Trecena. So this is the moment for us to take care, to cut obsession, to cut the ties that no longer adds to us, like to cut the emotional balance there. Could not be like a very truth to like for our life. If we had to unmatch something in Ahmak, maybe Bela Tihash could be the moment where you try to cut that from inside of you. So it's a day to let go of the things that you don't need. And then from Bela Tihash we go to Lauch Kawuk, now 10 shit lightning. Now 10 is the convergence, just like a lake that receives water from the rivers and delivers the water to the animals in the land. So it's the act of receiving and giving. So it's like when we collaborate with others. So that's the essence whenever we talk about now Lauch, now 10. And now Kawuk, the shit lightning, we talk about deep intuition. Just like when the sky suddenly lights up, that we see the shapes of the clouds. Maybe we not necessarily see the lightning bolts, but you only see that, like the sheet lightning that kind of brightens up things, for a second, gives us the vision. Just like it's a way for us to see deep inside of us what is the path to go. So Lauch Kawuk is the day to collaborate with our visions. As I mentioned in the beginning of the Trecena, if we need like a few of emotions, maybe we can find like this healing by being next to the people we trust. Like the people that we trust can help us. Also validating if we are not blinded by these emotions. So this can be this moment where we can exchange the visions to see things more clearer. If the Ahmak can blind us, if these emotions can makes us very enthusiastic, I mean, Lauch Kawuk is the moment where we can, clarify, like we can help each other with the vision to see like if we are not just going to the wrong path. So it could be out to avoid the convergence of trouble, within this, because Kawuk also likes trouble. Can be like as intuition is the unsolicited information that we receive, that we kind of have to deal with that. So that can sometimes leaves us into trouble, like without knowing that we are getting. So this could be a good day, to collaborate with others into our vision, to see what's the best way to communicate, maybe, or only to make sure like we help each other to dive, like to fly with this wind. And then from Laú Kawuk, we're gonna go to Hulaú Hunarpu 11 Conqueror Sun. Now 11 is the water that spreads, is the power of the water, just like the scattered water, the splash of water, just like when the waves hit the rocks and you see like many drops of water going to many different directions. This now can be a cognate for the now Iq whenever we talk about not having a single direction to go. So they kind of have like this intersection in meaning whenever we talk about this. And Hunarpu, we talk about the saga of the seed that goes to the darkness of the earth, trying to get the nutrients to rise up as a flower, to attract, to show its beauty, to make sure all the bees or the insects are going to go there and take the seeds and spread. So the same way that the wind, carries this function of spreading the seeds. So we give birth to many different things. So nature, like the forest, can grow again. So Hulaú Hunarpu also talks about the metaphor of the Hunarpu talks about the metaphor also of the warrior. The warrior needs to go to the battle, but first he needs to deal with this inner darkness, like the fears that it carries. So it's about confronting like our fears to face the battle. So 11 Hunarpu is going to be about dissolving the fears that we feel, like maybe the bitterness that put us, maybe not knowing the direction we need to follow or what you want to attract. It's the moment to dilute that, to dilute maybe the false glow, maybe all this emotional gust, can lead us into blindness, can make us sometimes see, like copper, for as gold. So this could be the moment where you can maybe dilute the false glow, like maybe the false pride that we are carrying, and focusing more like on how we can use the enthusiasm to attract more things. If these are about to enhance, like to take stuff to push things forward, just like to elevate the fire that we've had in this Iq Trecena. So this is the moment to make sure we know where to go, like to embrace the battle or to deal with that. Just use this enthusiasm to go where, like on the direction we can make things shine, like the most auspicious direction, as the Trecena is showing us. And then from Hulaú Hunarpu, we're gonna go to Kablaur Imosh 12 water. Now 12 is the hidden balance of the Trecena. It's the moment there where nature balances stuff. Maybe whenever we hit something, maybe we just got a destruction somewhere in the Trecena. But remember, nature is always in balance. So that's the nature of 12. It's the hidden balance of stuff. Stuff that sometimes appears for us as a surprise because you're not expecting to that. But then after we go to balance, we can apply our human classifications. For example, whenever someone is rude with someone or things happening, and whenever something compensates, we could say, oh, justice was created. We apply this conceptualization. So that's the nature of now 12. And now Imosh is the now of the water. It's the injection of force that can give life. Is where life came from. We also explain Imosh as the sea of consciousness, like this collective consciousness where we all draw our inspirations from, to be the abstract world. But it can be something that can be like, there's so much potential, but it can also, like be really hard to control. That's why it's the now of the imprecisions, whenever we have like a lot of strength, but little control. Like doing important things with your hand that you have like less precision. So that's how it's dealing with nawal Imosh. So it can be also the now that can cause us this turmoil, like whenever we misunderstand stuff because Maybe we could be just watching so many stuff or many different directions. We pick up some ideas that are not exactly ours, and that can create a confusion that can let the wind can spread with that, and we can enter into madness. We can destroy in a split second the things that we built. Just like if we are building our sand castle by the shore, that could represent, you know, the wave that comes and destroys us. Just like in this Trecena, if wind just completely changes the direction and destroys stuff. So it's the last step in the Trecena to balance stuff, to give that injection of force. Maybe if we got lost in Trecena, but as the wind is so unpredictable, maybe in the past day, maybe we can get like that extra push, you know, to inject force to give birth to new things, to make things grow even more. Just like we were preparing the land in Ishvalam, now it's time to irrigate, you know, the land, so we can make more things grow, we can multiply stuff. So that's the nature of Nawal 12 Imosh. But to be careful for not just like with the things we interact with, especially in social media, stuff that can plant us, you know, the seed of some crazy ideas. So make sure you watch out that with Imosh, because it can take stuff to the this emotional turmoil of this Trecena. And then after Kablau Imosh, we're gonna go to the ruler Oshlahu Iq 13 wind. Now 13 is the now of the accumulation, is the now of the big, the old, what transcends, what is really big enough that you cannot ignore. It's the now that pulls, you know, things forward since the now one. Since the Tz'i gave the ignition, like the spring of the motions, is already pushing us like just for things just to lead to this destination. So, and now Iq, as we were talking about, is the explosion of the emotions, the breath that connects us all, like the insufflation of life. Also this air of enthusiasm and courage that makes us fly for life and gives us this romantic, you know, view of life, just like a kid, just getting excited about things. So it's that emotional feel that pushes us forward. So it's gonna be like this expression of everything that we accumulated during this Trecena. So it's gonna be the one that is responsible for strengthening these emotional bonds that we share with each other. The one that can also takes our confusion to the next level, that can make us feel explosive with the emotions whenever we went to an argument with someone. So Oshla Huyek is a day that you probably should avoid getting into arguments, because things can go, you know, very heated, you know, in with wind. Just like having, like, you cannot stop the wind, so it's better not messing up, because the wind can be very explosive. So, but it's in the most auspicious ways where you can do things, you know, can be very enthusiastic, can give like this big push for things to go ahead, this big impulse that this Trecena can talk about. So in this, how we close this Oshlahu Iq Trecena, and start preparing for the next one. That's going to be the Oshlahu Tikin. So we are just pushing the wings for the eagle to fly higher in the next Trecena, or just give like a bigger heat for us to invest to everything that we are depositing from this one in the next one. And if you have any questions about this Trecena, you can leave right now while I have a few minutes in here. If everything was clear, if it was easy to follow, if you have any other questions that is not related to the Trecena, feel free to ask in here. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the live, if you are just starting following my Trecena analysis, I have a playlist called Fundamentals, where I explain more about the sequence of the Trecena, the natures of every nawal. I would say the nawals 12 and 13 are the ones that you need to prepare before. Actually, like as I mentioned, like they are going pace passing the baton, to one another. So they are all connecting in a same way as a chain reaction. So sometimes like now number 12 like could be like the last step, like the to compensate stuff. And 13 is already the accumulation, but the 13 has already an influence after the the one T already steps in. The 13 is already start driving things forward. Or the number one is only going to be kind of setting the tone, but it's already being driven by this 13 pushing things forward. It's different than seeing like the time as a linear stuff. So in Maya, we see like how things are returning, how things are connected, and just dictating the destination where we're gonna be getting. So the 12 could be like the moment that you can compensate, especially in this Trecena, like the water can be like the extra injection of force. Because sometimes we can enter like in a, for example, in a flow, like in a streak of not being productive or feeling like rotten, or bar, we feel like you lose fertility. But then all of a sudden we feel like we can just inject force, we can fly. Some maybe we can do like more things in one day, like that we did like in perhaps like 2 weeks. So that sometimes can be like this expression of now 12 trying to compensate stuff, or sometimes just give a little extra. So in a sense can be like the cash out of the Trecena before the accumulation. And 13 gigs is something that you cannot ignore, maybe something that you cannot change, that is going to be already taken for the next Trecena. So I have to say that we need to all pay attention, like every single nawal, like as they are all connected to each other, like thinking about like how each one's going to be like interconnected to one another, just giving sense to one another. Remember, we cannot isolate any nawal, like they don't make any sense on its own. They make sense in this context of like a bigger group of a system, for example the Trecena, as one single entity with 13 heads. So if one has a headache, it's gonna compromise maybe like how the other one's gonna be thinking. So that's we see like what are gonna be having, like the repercussion gonna be having at 12 is also connected with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of the numbers. So that's a way to, I don't know if I already answered your question, if that was clear. If not, I can try to elaborate a little bit better. Matios, Ricardo. Jesus writes. If you have more questions, related or unrelated, right on, mate. So I think we can close the live. If you have any further questions, if any questions may rise up, you can feel free to reach me through Instagram, or just leave a comment here on YouTube, and I will do my best to answer in the best way. And also, you can also follow the posts that I post here on YouTube and also on Instagram and TikTok, where I try to, if the writings just express maybe some other aspects that, because sometimes it's hard to cover all the aspects in the Trecena here. So you can follow this post, and I hope it's helpful for making you following the Trecena. So I appreciate all the company of you watching the live here with me, and wishing you all a great Trecena ahead. And okay, bye bye.